every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello, thank you for joining us on CoreTV Primetime News. I am Frank Omalape. Tonight, thank you for joining us now. Nigerians and indeed workers of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation can now go to sleep soundly, as plans to unbond the organization may just be a ruse after all. The Senate committees on petroleum upstream and downstream sector have been meeting with the Minister for State Petroleum and Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and NPC, Dr. Ibe Kachuku. Our correspondent Jamila Figwa reports on the committee's meeting with the minister.
Nigerians woke up to the shock of the news that the petroleum workers are again going on strike, sending further fears, especially in the face of the current fuel scarcity. The story is different, however. Government is not unbundling the NNPC, but rather reorganizing the oil sector to begin to make gains rather than the huge losses being experienced presently.
We're not unbundling NNPC because NNPC is an entity that was created by an act of the National Assembly, and nobody can touch it unless it comes back to the National Assembly for amendment.
The committees are agreeing that the minister is not contravening any law establishing the NNPC, the only problem being the fact that the National Assembly has not been properly consulted.
Having looked at the law with him, we found out that he did not contravene the law. And we also told him that he ought to have done more consultation, for which they apologized, and they said from now on, more consultation will be done.
To be sure that no law was contravened, no part of the NPC Act was contravened in the process of bringing about this restructuring. And we are convinced that there's no part of that act was contravened.
Nigeria is said to be losing about 40 billion naira from the NNPC monthly, which has been cut down to about 3 billion. The committee is assuring that with the incoming restructuring, Nigeria will begin to make profit rather than losses. Jamila Fegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And while oil workers in Nigeria suspended a strike on Tuesday in protest of the restructuring of state oil company, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, the head of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasin, Saleh Abdullahi, says the workers resolved to call off the strike immediately after a lengthy meeting with the Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kachuku. Abdullahi says the meeting, which lasted till about 5 a.m. on Thursday, agreed to set up 3 committees consisting staff of the corporation, its management and the workers' unions to henceforth look exhaustively at all issues capable of generating misunderstanding and conflict, particularly those bordering on labor concerns, and address them. With the decision to call off the strike, Abdullahi said all members of the 2 unions, namely Pengasin and National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers NUPENG, were directed to return to work immediately and ensure that normalcy in fuel supply returns immediately. And now the controversy over the proposed unbundling of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation into about 30 companies is yet to die down, despite the truce reached by the federal government and the sticky oil workers. On our Flash Breakfast program called Digest, the Terrorism view expressed by Nigerians alongside our guest analyst Kaude Salako is that President Buhari should go ahead with the unbundling if the oil corporation so as to eliminate corruption in the sector. It's the usual and common refrain from organized protests anytime they want to express their displeasure and agitation against the system. With such grumbles, the socio-economic lives of the majority, if Nigerians are paralyzed and brought to a standstill for the selfishness, if a few persons against the overall interests of the nation. So why the hue and cry of members of the Peng and Pengasin were perennially embarking on industrial action?
They should have been patient enough to continue to seek better communication with the management of NNPC. I'm sure it is not that they were not informed at all. I'm sure they were not in the know.
What pisses me about Nigeria is, especially so-called the union, when we're supposed to shut down Nigeria, that is not when they think of that. It is only when they have their own selfish interest. They will not be saying, let's shut down Nigeria on some useless or reasonable issue.
Newpeng and Pengasin, they are the cabal that does not want any refinery in Nigeria to function effectively. With their collaborators in the oil industry, they always make sure that the refinery does not work, so that they will continue to import fuel in Nigeria and then inflict a hardship on the masses of this country.
With no added value to the oil industry and the economic of Nigeria generally, the argument is that the present administration should come down head-on the redundant and over-bloated workforce of the NNPC.
It is necessary, it is important that Buhari's government must continue to reform, carry out reforms, necessary reforms in every ministry, every civil service sector, every aspect of our economy, for us to be able to get a Nigeria that can now be properly accountable.
The level of corruption in Nigeria is barbaric. It is animalistic. It's time we bring it to a halt.
The NNPC is owned and operated by the government of the Federation. And the government said this is how we want this thing to be. It has not been working. Everybody knew that this thing has not been working, for goodness sake, for God's sake. And government has come up with a plan, with a policy, that this is how we want it.
The pain, the queues and loss of businessmen hours all conspire to drive Nigeria's economy grovel and stifles development. But how long more will this administration and indeed Nigerians continue to endure what most people see as economic sabotage remains to be seen?
50 billion naira in cash.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged his commitment, and other members of the African Union High-Level Consultative Committee on South Sudan will do their utmost best to ensure that the peace agreement signed by the various political factions in the country is successfully implemented. President Buhari affirmed this while playing host to the first Vice President of South Sudan, Riek Machar, and State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has more in this report.
Speaking at an audience with South Sudan's first Vice President, President Buhari assured him that Nigeria and the committee will work with all stakeholders to overcome problems hindering the implementation of the 7-month-old agreement, expressing concern that compliance with the agreed ceasefire in South Sudan has not been total. President Buhari says Nigeria will work in collaboration with other members of the African Union to achieve a speedy stabilization of the situation. The president advised leaders of South Sudan not to allow ethnicity and corruption to gain a foothold in the new country. President Buhari warned after receiving a briefing from the first Vice President of South Sudan on the current state of affairs in the country. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
And now the federal government now has another weapon as the fight against insurgency continues in the northeast of Nigeria, and to also protect the nation's borders from external infiltration. Interior Minister Abdul Rahman Dambazao says the development of the canine capacity by the Nigerian police force is a game changer in the fight against terror and other criminal activities. Correspondent Kozem Kasali has details.
All right, take it easy, take it easy.
This is a demonstration put up by the Force Animal Branch of the Nigerian Police Force to project its readiness to be the game changer in the fight against terror and other criminal activities, including cross-border infiltration. For the Interior Minister, the opening of an ultra-modern dog breeding center and the inauguration of mounted troops by the police is a welcome development, both for the police and the nation's internal security, especially in the detection of suicide bombers and improvised explosive devices.
These dogs, when well trained, can detect bombs, can detect and identify people carrying such weapons. And also, I'm sure the Nigerian immigration, which is also part of the family of the interior, can benefit from this in terms of cross-border activities.
Inspector General of Police in his remarks says the breeding center, which had long been abandoned, is a step to continue efforts to professionalize the force. He says officers in the center have received training from outside the shores of Nigeria, while those in the Mounted Troops Division have been trained by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
In this state of affairs, huge funds were being expended on importation of dogs from foreign countries. Yet, some of these dogs really adapt to our policing clients. In fact, record shows that the Nigerian Police Force has spent over 600 million in the last few years just on procurement and maintenance of these foreign dogs.
Former Inspector General of Police and Chairman Police Service Commission and the Chairman House of Representatives Committee on Police Affairs both commended the Police High Command for the step to revive the Police Animal Branch.
The establishment of the Police Dog Breeding Center and Mounted Troops Temple remain an inestimable investment that will deepen not only policing in Nigeria, but greatly unfold multi-revenue generation opportunities.
Let me reaffirm our confidence and belief in the Nigerian Police Force, most especially in its quest to promote security and reduce crime to the ground level. Under the present leadership of the Nigerian Police Force, IG Solomon Arese.
The newly commissioned dog breeding center is expected to help in saving the police about 600 million naira, which the IGP says has been spent on importing and taking care of foreign-bred dogs in the last few years. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Still on security matter, House of Representatives is bent on stopping the spate of senseless killings in the country and has commenced moves to stop the illegal acquisition of firearms by unauthorized persons. Members are unanimous in their submissions that the spate of killings and murders are becoming one too many for the nation to ignore. Our correspondent Emmanuel Ehijini finds in this report on the proceedings.
Olusegun Dokun from Ogoluwa Surulere Federal Constituency of Oyo State raised the motion at plenary when he stated in his submission that the inability of the country to make laws that prohibit the illegal acquisition of firearms by individuals has accounted for most crimes and killing across the country.
In the communal classes that has been happening in the recent times, Mr. Speaker, the one in the Benue, you will recall that the major the major equipment there is gun and ammunition. Mr. Speaker, there's need for us, for this nation, to look for the way we make sure how these guns illegally across in the hand of the many people in Nigeria is hereby caught.
Other members are also towing his line of argument in support of his claim, as they are of the view that the wars in other neighboring African countries are seeing firearms find their way into the country, and there is an urgent need for a mop-up to stem the tide.
A lot of the arms and ammunition from Liberia, from Sierra Leone, from Central African Republic, from Libya, found their way to Nigeria. And most of these arms, and of course it was such a great big issue.
If you look at the fallout of the Arab Spring and some other efforts,
For instance, Boko Haram thrived so well because some of these arms are there.
In curbing these menace, Honorable Speaker, I think it's very important to take note of our illegal borders. In Nigeria, we have over 1,000 illegal borders, which is more important. All these arms, most of them are coming through illegal borders.
The motion is being referred to the Committees on National Intelligence and the Police Affairs for further legislative input.
Now to the south of Nigeria, where the River State Commissioner of Police Musa Kimo has reassured residents of his commitment to bring the culprits behind the recent killing of Franklin Obi, his wife and 4 children in Omokun community to book. He said in line with it resolved that the State Police Command have made some arrests. A correspondent at J. Nelson has details.
The River State Commissioner of Police, Musa Kimo, no doubt has a lot on his plate, from maintaining peace, ensuring the protection of lives and property, and firming up plans for a violence-free rerun elections come March the 19th. A setback was, however, recorded when an APC chieftain, Franklin Obi, was murdered alongside members of his family on Sunday, March the 6th, prompting the CP's visit to Omok community. Daughter of the deceased recounts the ordeal.
Last night, I was inside sleeping when I heard my mom's voice. She was shouting and crying. When I woke up, I saw my siblings. They were hiding at the back of our door. I then joined them. Later, when I opened the curtain of our room, I saw those men beheading my father. Then later, they went inside my mom's room and shot her. Then they came to our room, the children's room, and told all of us to come out. We were coming out for my elder brother, best man. He was coming slowly and he was coming close to the man with the gun. The man then shot him twice on his chest and one at his leg. Then they left it to my father's head.
Police have, however, succeeded in apprehending one Anthony Ugo in connection with Obi's murder. Another suspect, Ndobisi Tochi, has also been arrested for alleged killing of Ofinijite Ametre. The commissioner urges members of the public to support and cooperate with the police by providing credible information that will enable it in the discharge of its duties.
The incident in Omo honestly would have been averted if only members of the public had abided in the police. I was reliably informed that on that day, 2 armed men, masked, were sighted in and around that compound.
The CP reveals that the police in River State is ready and on high alert to ensure peace and calm before, during, and after the rerun elections.
A very traumatizing experience for the girl child there. Away from there now, 16 more bodies have been retrieved from the collapsed 5-story building in Ikati, Lekki, Lagos, bringing the death toll to about 35, where 13 people have been pulled out alive from the rubble. A spokesman of the Southwest arm of the National Emergency Management Agency, Ibrahim Farin-Loye, revealed that the agency has gotten to ground zero and the process of scoring the site is now complete. However, Lagos State Emergency Management Agency boss Michael Akindele says 95% of the victims are foreigners. And now the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to former Chief of Defense Staff Marshal Alex Badi in a sum of 2 billion naira with 2 surety for worth 1 billion naira each. Justice Okonabang ordered that the sureties must have landed properties in Abuja and must also swear to affidavits of means. EFCC is prosecuting Badi and a firm, Yalikam Nigeria Limited, accusing them of fraudulently removing 3.97 billion from the account of the Nigerian Air Force in 2013.
Well,
The ruling is a good ruling and it's apt in view of Section 6 of the Constitution, which talks about presumption of innocence. As soon as possible, as soon as possible. They are not. It's okay. Yes, the conditions are okay. No, we shall meet the conditions by the grace of God. It's an interlocutory application, so it need not be in court. Yes.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still to come after the break, the face-off between Ekiti State Government and the Department of State Security DSS is taking a new dimension with protests in support of the government. Details shortly.
Are you aware that the death percentage attributed to Lassa fever cases is currently put at 43.2%, a figure considered very high? Lassa fever, an acute viral illness characterized by high fever, muscle aches, mouth ulcers and bleeding in the skin, is harbored by rats and spread to humans via the urine and droppings of rats. To prevent Lassa fever, avoid any exposure with rodents, rats, as well as food and objects contaminated with rat secretions and excretions. Report all suspected cases of Lassa fever immediately to the nearest healthcare institution. Help prevent Lassa fever. This message is from the federal government of Nigeria.
Is it crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, trading looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face. Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth. Whatever it is that will bring our military to the Supreme. I said to hell
on Core Digest.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
Every weekday, we'll bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody have the right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge.
It's still CoreTV Primetime News coming to you live from our Lagos studios. A reminder of our top stories now. And all our top stories can be found on our social media platforms, like our Facebook page is facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also follow at CoreTV News NG. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space, the news. And our President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Dakoko Peterside as the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. Peterside was the candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC in the last governorship election held in Rivers State. The Director of Public Relations, Ministry of Transportation, Abuja, has also confirmed his appointment, and he is expected to resume office immediately. Peterside acquired a doctorate degree in management science from the University of Port Harcourt and MBA in business administration. He equally holds a bachelor degree in medical laboratory sciences in hematology from the Rivers State University of Science and Technology. And now the face-off between Ekiti State Government and the Department of State Security DSS is taking a new dimension with protests in support of the government. The protest early expected to take place in Ado-Ekiti, however, was held in Ikere-Ekiti as the protesters alleged the federal government of seeking means to evoke a state of emergency in Ekiti State. Our correspondent Rashid reports.
While the DSS prepares for a showdown in Ado-Ekiti, pro-government supporters take to the second largest town in the state, Ikere, to protest the arrest and continuous detention of 4 members of the Ekiti State House of Assembly. The protesters allege the DSS of playing by the rules of the APC-controlled federal government in its bid to cause commotion in the state, which will eventually be detrimental to the Ayodele Fayoshe's government.
This governor is doing a lot, and we don't want anybody to distract him. We are saying no to the intimidations and the harassments and the unnecessary arrest of our House of Assembly members. What the federal government is looking for, they are not going to get it in Ekiti State.
With the eventual release of the Commissioner for Finance, Tony Ojo, the protesters make passionate plea to the federal government to end the issue.
We don't want trouble in Ekiti State. We want him to, because he's a man of all people. He loves people, he loves us, especially we youth, and we love him also. So we are pleading to the federal government to just leave this man alone, to let his mind to be at rest so that he can fulfill all his promises for us.
With protests being stepped up, the end to this ensuing melee may not be in sight. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ikere, Ekiti.
Meanwhile, another industrial crisis looms as staff of Ladoke Akintola University Teaching Hospital, Oshogbo, trooped out en masse to protest what they say is a plan by the state government to retrench over 1,000 of its workforce, addressing a newsman in Oshogbo, the Osun State capital. Chairman of the Senior Staff Association, Lautech Teaching Hospital, Abiodun Afolabi, says the protest is intended to appeal to the state government not to implement a decision to sack workers. Here again is Rashid reports.
Nurses, laboratory technologists, midwives, allied health professionals, and non-academic staff union of Lautech Teaching Hospital all gather, bound by a common goal, to protest an alleged plan by the Osun State government to sack over 1,000 members of its workforce. The workers then move around the hospital premises singing and chanting solidarity songs. And finally settling down into stating their grievances against the Osun State government.
Government cannot just wake up in a day without even engaging the labor leader and begin to issue a threat to the effect that it's going to sack more than 10,000 members of our staff without any good cause. Without any good cause. No criminal conviction, no misconduct on their part. You just want to sack them on the basis of the fact that there is over recruitment somewhere. And when you even begin to think about it, what does over recruitment simply means?
All 5 unions represented at the gathering state their resolve to down tools should the government make good its decision to downsize.
We are going to bring all the union leaders to this particular place, the national, the sector, the state. And we are going to ensure that we do not relent and fight vigorously to ensure that our demands are acceded to. There is no two way around it. It's not a matter of bargaining. You cannot retrench our members on justifiable reasons.
Chief Medical Director of the hospital, Wale Lasisi, and State Director of the Bureau of Communication and Strategy, Semio Kolan, when contacted, however, declined to speak on the allegation. Rashid, CoreTV News, Oshogbo.
The same experience in the Taraba State as a 3-day warning strike by the workforce in the state has continued to affect members of the public from getting access to government period status. A correspondent to Dua Godwin reports that the situation is no different at a specialist hospital in the state.
Day 2 of the strike by workers in Taraba State has continued to have its consequences in the lives of people. At the State Specialist Hospital, staffs and medical personnel have joined in the agitation of non-salary payments. Patients have been moved out of the hospital premises by relatives, and the place looks deserted, unlike the normal bubbling and trooping of patients compared to normal days. Management of the hospital is insisting that only skeletal services will have to be rendered to cater for patients with critical cases.
Apart from patients babies that are in incubator. The incubators we have in this hospital, we have more incubators than any hospital. And those that are in those incubators, if we don't take care of them.
Volunteers, Youth Corps members and the Nigerian Red Cross are on hand to give whatever assistance they can.
What informs us to be in the hospital is when the hospital workers will call off on a strike, and there are patients that are in the hospital. Some of them are helpless. They cannot move to the bathroom, they can't ease themselves, and they cannot take care of themselves.
As the rift between government and civil servants hold out, many in the state are still optimistic that a peace resolution will be reached soon enough to stem the hardships it has created. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Jaling.
Let's shift our attention to other stories now. Contrary to impressions that the European Union is placing a blanket ban on some agricultural products from Nigeria, the Senate is revealing that the European Union is only suspending this product for lack of compliance to the Union's import regulations. Contributing members are arguing that Nigerian farmers must begin adhere strictly to rules of export, as agriculture is a veritable way of generating revenue for the country. Our correspondent Jamila Fegwa has more.
Agriculture, no doubt, is one of Nigeria's biggest avenues to diversify its economy. But recently, rumors have been making the rounds that the European Union is banning agricultural products from Nigeria entering the EU. This prompted the Senate to carry out its own investigation through its Committee for Agriculture, which has been finding out something different.
The European Union placed a suspension on the import of beans from Nigeria till June 2016 and not outright ban on import of other Nigerian agricultural commodities.
Certain foods like beans are not to be touched by the European Union for consumption due to the storage method, which is considered hazardous. And so the Senate is wondering why Nigerians consume it if it is bad for the Europeans, and also advising on the method of exportation.
For those that we consume even locally, if it is not safe for consumption in European countries, it also means that it is not supposed to be safe for our local consumption.
Our problem started in Nigeria, not in London. We will bring it because of the multiplicity of regulatory agencies at the airport. They will hold it till the next day. So by the time it's taken to London, we will have another fact that says 40% wastage. So that was how we became frustrated, not from London, but from Nigeria.
The problem may not be with the European Union, but with the Nigerian farmers who are refusing to comply with the set standards.
The problem is not with the European Union. The problem is with us, the Nigerian farmers. And this is because we have failed to meet the requirements put on the ground by EU.
The agencies responsible for checking the products for export are being called upon to sit up.
It is not only about export, as rightly said, it talks also about the safety, food safety of our own people. And those agencies that are responsible for that must be held accountable to ensure that the quality of some of the foods that we consume ourselves are safe.
One of the resolve follows that the committee should, as a matter of urgency, liaise with the relevant authorities to find ways of removing all hindrances to successful exportation of Nigeria's agricultural products to the EU. Jamila Fegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And our efforts to diversify the Nigerian economy from a mono-economy based only on crude oil export to a much more broad-based agricultural economy is gaining grounds among lawmakers. Our National Assembly correspondent Emmanuel Ehejine spoke to the man behind the proposed bill and finds in this report.
Efforts by the Muhammadu Buhari administration diversifying Nigeria's fragile economy got a major boost at the House of Representatives, which is set to commence a debate on the bill seeking to regulate the future of commodities and derivatives trading in Nigeria. The bill, titled An Act to Regulate Commodities for Future Trading in Nigeria, also seeks to provide for the establishment of the Commodities Future Trading Commission and for other matters, sponsored by Uzo Nkem Abonta from Abia State.
Not just say fund agriculture and produce. After production, what else? You must plan for production, for warehousing, for preservation. For example, we produce large quantity of tomatoes. During tomato season, a basket you can get for little amount.
The commodities exchange, if effectively managed, will not only create jobs but will also increase the foreign earnings through exportation of palm oil, cocoa, groundnut, tomatoes, among others. He's also advising that Nigeria borrows a leaf from the African countries like Ethiopia, despite establishing its own commodities exchange for less than 5 years, recorded a trade volume worth $1.4 billion in 2012 from $1 billion in 2011.
If we have a commission, we will be able to standardize the price, regulate the price, and you buy that at our own dictate. Europe dictates their goods to us. We should also dictate what we are giving them. We should not make it very free. They can't come here and, because we scramble for dollar, they give you a peanut and they cut away the cocoa and sell.
He's also calling on Nigerians to support the bill, as it do not only reposition the economy, but also save the country from the shock of the dwindling oil prices and crippling the economy in recent times.
And our Kaduna State House of Assembly at its plenary sitting passed into law a bill seeking to establish master plan for the state sent in by Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai. Part of the law reads that any person who encroaches or interferes or in any way obstructs the orderly implementation of the master plan commits an offence and shall be liable on conviction to imprisonment for a term of 6 months or a fine of 250,000 respectively.
The bill also states that the government shall have the right to remove, modify, restructure, or reconstruct any existing structure, building, or facility in order to bring it into conformity with the master plan, and provided that it shall have due regard to provisions of the Land Use Act of 1978 on the payment of compensation in appropriate or deserving cases. Mukhtar Issa Hazu is a member of State House representing Basawa constituency. He says the law will boost sustainable economic development in Kaduna State.
That bill addressed the issue of enhancing social development relating to poverty reduction in order to bring cohesion and equity in Kaduna State plans and what have you.
Honorable Mukhtar further maintained that from the date of commencement of the law, all transactions and physical developments in the designated planning or urban area of Kaduna Metropolis shall be in accordance with the provision of the master plan.
Reform and fiscal.
And our women have been advised on balancing the extremities of life while they oversee their families, business, and even social obligations. At an event to mark this year's International Women's Week in Lagos, the women folk are also urged to seek to it that their voices are heard. Our correspondent Victoria Solomon Faiz in this report has presented from our studios.
Women play a pivotal role in society. They are the ones who build and hold the home together, performing many tasks nature has saddled with them. However, there is an art to striking the balance between family, business, and social life.
We should be able to prioritize. We should know what time we are meant to spend with our children, create time to spend with our children aside from our business, and ensure that even when we are not at our business, we are focusing on our families. We have set our business in a way that it can run without us being there.
Getting organized as a person, having your skill set as a person, so that you are really good at what you want to do. Having a very good support system, developing a support system. I think that's what works for me.
And behind our women must be the support of their men.
For women to be more careful about choosing partners, because the truth is you cannot do it alone. If you try to be a superwoman at home and a superwoman at work, you find that you probably fail in both. But if you have a supportive system, and so for me it would be having a strong network of support to balance both.
I think the most important thing is to marry the right man, to get the right support, to have the family structure that will take some of your work while you're busy working so that your family can take care of the kids.
Faith as well as perseverance have proven to be virtues that have conferred success on women through ages.
Just have faith, and whatever it is you choose to do, you need to be sure that this is what I've been designed to do, because the road will get tough. But it's just that belief, that faith, and that support system will keep you going. And That's it, really. And keep the faith, even when you're crying at night. It will be better in the morning.
More than ever before, the voice of women is important in a society, and many advocate that it must not be silenced.
Everywhere women are, they always make an impact. So if a woman has a business, even the people that are working with her, she's also impacting on them positively, socially, giving them the right values.
International Women's Week is dedicated to celebrating the achievement of women globally every year, beginning from the 8th of March.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. Still to come, ahead of the news, South African girl found after 19 years of being kidnapped. We'll bring you details, and that's outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Outside Nigeria now, a South African woman has been found guilty of kidnapping a 3-day-old baby in 1997. Police accuse her of fraudulently claiming to be the girl's mother since snatching her from a hospital in Cape Town. The 51-year-old woman was arrested last year after suspicions were raised when there was a similar-looking girl at the girl's child's school. A DNA test when proved that the two girls were sisters. Police said the kidnapped girls' biological parents, Celeste and Moon Nurse, called her Zephany, but the name she grew up with has not been revealed in a bid to protect her identity. However, the convicted woman, who has been denied bail while she awaits sentencing, has also not been named for similar reasons. And now, U.S. President Barack Obama and Canada's new Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has lavished praise on each other amid talks of the White House. Trudeau is in Washington for the first official visit by a Canadian leader in nearly 20 years. The two leaders discussed trade, environmental and security issues. The visit comes as U.S.-Canada relations improve, having become strained under Trudeau's conservative predecessor, Stephen Harper. And our protesters asking for a fair election last month in Chad have carried out a whistling protest at their homes. Campaigners urge people to whistle for 15 minutes in the morning at 4:30 a.m. and again in the evening. Organizers say the protest was tough, though, up as a way for people to be heard without the risk of violence. President Idris Deby took power in a coup in 1990 and is standing for a fifth term in the presidential elections on 10 April, a fast that many Chadians now find unsettling. And our senior Al-Shabaab commander has made a public appearance to deny claims that he and another group leaders were killed in U.S. airstrikes at a training camp in southern Somalia. UN forces say they carried out several strikes in Somalia's Hiran region, in which it claimed more than 150 of the Al-Qaeda-linked group's fighters have been killed. Somali officials say 5 Al-Shabaab commanders had been killed in Saturday's attack, including Mohammed Mir, the group's Hiran governor, and Yusuf Ali Ugaz, Al-Shabaab's former Hiran chief. But Mir appeared on Thursday in the village of Buka Kabe, and the same province in the airstrike took place, to dismiss the claims. And now let's take a look at some sports stories now.
Power style, and that's what he delivered.
And West Ham midfielder Alex Song has been recalled by Cameroon for the 2017 African Cup of Nations qualifier against South Africa. Song has not played for his national team since Cameroon's poor 2014 World Cup campaign in Brazil, where he lashed out at coaches Mario Manzuki off the ball, leading their group a defeat in Manus. Some inclusion in new coach Hugo Bruce and first-team squad is a surprise after the 20-year-old announced his international retirement last year. Cameroon is currently top of group with maximum point from their first 2 games. And our Togolese coach Tom Senfi is hopeful of convincing Emmanuel Adebayo to return to the national team after the striker rejected a call for their forthcoming Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Tunisia. Adebayo, who last played for his country in June 2015, says he wants to focus on his new club, Crystal Palace, but Senfi says the 32-year-old is still key to his plans. The former Tottenham, Manchester City and Arsenal player has not been picked since failing to turn up for a Nations Cup qualifier against Djibouti in September following a rollover losing the captaincy. But Senfi says he has been monitoring Adebayo's progress at Crystal Palace and is hopeful the striker may change his mind about returning to the national setup before the Tunisia match on 25 March. Well, of course, that's a wrap with sport now. Just before we go, a recap of our major headline now. Well, and that's been the show tonight on CoreTV Primetime News. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape on behalf of the entire news production. Have a good night.